Good evening, visitors, and welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Sharon Bown, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Lieutenant Colonel Adam Dobney. We warmly welcome the men and women of Duntroon Officer Cadet Class of 1979 40th Anniversary Reunion Groups, including Ms. Liz Cosson, Secretary, Department of Veterans Affairs. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. Girls and boys, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Pugh George Davies. Pugh Davies was born in 1893, the son of Edward and Margaret Davies of the Melbourne suburb of Brunswick. Known by his middle name George, he attended a local state school and later completed a 7-year apprenticeship with Aronson and Co Jewellers. He enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 17th of July 1915 in Melbourne and began his training. His younger brother Harold also enlisted, serving with the 7th Battalion and returning home to Australia in 1918 after being wounded in a gas attack. Pugh Davies sailed from Melbourne on the 26th of November 1915 aboard the transport ship Commonwealth, having been allotted to reinforcements of the 23rd Australian Infantry Battalion. He left too late to take part in the Gallipoli campaign and instead sailed for Egypt, where he was present for what is known as the doubling of the AIF, a period of expansion and reorganisation in which new battalions were created, and veterans from Gallipoli were mixed with new recruits in preparation for the war on the Western Front. Davies was briefly allotted to the 58th Battalion, but in March 1916 joined the newly created 60th Infantry Battalion. On the 18th of June 1916, he embarked from Egypt for France. Upon arrival at Marseille, Davies and the rest of the 60th Battalion moved to northern France to a sector of the front near the town of Armentières. On the 19th of July 1916, Davies and the 60th Battalion took part in Australia's first major engagement on the Western Front, the Battle of Fromelles. In this battle, Australian forces formed the northern flank of an attack aimed at straightening out an area of the line known as the Sugarloaf. Davies and the 60th Battalion formed part of the right flank of the attack. Their advance was preceded by a 7-hour-long artillery bombardment of German lines. The bombardment was, however, ineffective on the lines in front of Davies and his unit. They attacked in a series of waves, but were cut down in heavy German machine gun and artillery fire. The Battle of Fromelles was a disaster for Australia. The 5th Australian Division suffered over 5,500 casualties in a single day. Davies' 60th Battalion was virtually wiped out and lost over 750 men. The field diary of his unit recorded, each wave advanced under very heavy artillery, machine gun and rifle fire, suffering very heavy casualties. Davies was seen advancing across no man's land, near 2 fellow soldiers, when a German shell burst among them, likely killing all 3. In the chaos that followed the battle, his exact fate could not be confirmed. He was reported missing in action, and it was not until August 1917, over a year after his death, that he was officially declared to have been killed in action. He was 23 years old. He is listed on the VC Corner Australian Cemetery and Memorial at Fromelles, which commemorates the 1,100 Australian casualties of the Battle of Fromelles who have no known grave. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour to my right among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. The photograph displayed today beside the pool of reflection, both of the Davies brothers, Harold on the left-hand side and Pugh on the right-hand side of this image. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Pugh George Davies, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you all for visiting the Australian War Memorial, and we wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.